Everyone says Facebook killed MySpace. That's not what happened. In 2006, 2 years after Facebook launched, MySpace was still the most visited website in the United States, with 3 times Facebook's user base and a $900 million advertising deal with Google. The platform had every advantage: the users, the brand, the money, the momentum. So why, by 2011, was it sold for $35 million? The answer has nothing to do with Facebook. It has everything to do with what News Corp did after they bought it. August 2003. Tom Anderson and Chris DeWolf launched MySpace from a small office in Santa Monica, California. The premise was almost embarrassingly simple. Give every person on the internet their own page, their own music playlist, their own background color, their own list of friends ranked from 1 to 8. Within 12 months, MySpace had 1 million users. Within 2 years, it had 20 million. Bands were breaking through MySpace. Relationships were forming on MySpace. The internet had found its living room, and it was in Santa Monica. In July 2005, Rupert Murdoch's News Corp acquired Intermix Media, MySpace's parent company, for $580 million. It was the largest acquisition of a social media company in the history of the internet. Murdoch called it a once-in-a-generation opportunity. At the time, MySpace had 32 million users and was growing faster than any website ever had. The press celebrated. Analysts praised the boldness. What no one asked was the question that would define the next 6 years. Does News Corp actually understand what it just bought? News Corp placed MySpace under Fox Interactive Media, a division built to manage television properties and film licensing. The executives put in charge of MySpace had spent their careers negotiating syndication deals and managing broadcast schedules. They were fluent in Nielsen ratings and network upfronts. They did not know the difference between Cold Fusion and PHP. They had never shipped a software feature in their lives. And now they were responsible for the most visited website in the United States, at the exact moment that a college dropout in a dorm room was building the thing that would replace it. In August 2006, News Corp signed what appeared to be the ultimate validation of the MySpace purchase. Google agreed to pay $900 million over 3 years to be the exclusive search and advertising provider on the platform. It was the largest internet advertising deal ever signed at that point. News Corp had spent $580 million and was now collecting $900 million in return. On paper, the acquisition was already profitable. What the deal actually did was chain MySpace's future to a single imperative: maximize advertising revenue. And maximizing revenue meant more ads. More ads meant a worse product. By 2007, visiting MySpace had become an exercise in endurance. Flash banner ads filled every corner of every page. Autoplay video advertisements started without warning. Pop-up overlays blocked content before collapsing. User profiles, the creative heart of the platform, were buried under promotional modules that couldn't be removed. Pages took 10 to 15 seconds to load on standard home broadband connections. Users reported that opening their MySpace inbox felt like navigating a carnival midway designed by someone who hated them. Every second of that experience was a deliberate trade, your patience for advertising revenue. While MySpace was becoming a billboard, Facebook was building a room. Mark Zuckerberg had launched Facebook in February 2004, a full year after MySpace, and had spent 3 years growing it exclusively among college students. In September 2006, Facebook opened registration to everyone. The contrast with MySpace was immediate. Clean white pages. No autoplay music assaulting visitors. No garish profile backgrounds. No ads competing for attention on every surface. Where MySpace felt like Times Square, Facebook felt like a quiet apartment. Users noticed. Then they brought their friends. In May 2007, Mark Zuckerberg stood on a stage and announced Facebook Platform, an open API that allowed any developer in the world to build applications directly inside Facebook. Within weeks, thousands of apps flooded in. Games, quizzes, horoscopes, music integrations. News readers. Facebook became not just a social network but an entire ecosystem. MySpace had no equivalent. Its infrastructure ran on aging cold fusion servers that could not support a developer platform. The engineers who understood this had no authority. The executives with authority didn't understand it. And nobody in the boardroom asked why they were falling behind. The data was clear long before the boardroom admitted it. MySpace had 300 million registered accounts by 2008. An enormous number. But registered accounts were not the same as engaged users. People were creating profiles and then spending their time on Facebook instead. The trend line was unambiguous. In April 2008, exactly 3 years after News Corp's $580 million acquisition, Facebook surpassed MySpace in monthly unique visitors. 3 years. That was how long it took for the most visited website in America to be displaced by a company that hadn't existed when MySpace was founded. News Corp's response to losing the social media race was to change the management. In June 2009, they forced out MySpace co-founder Chris DeWolf and replaced him with Owen Van Natta, a former Facebook executive who lasted exactly 9 months. Van Natta was then replaced by Mike Jones. Each new CEO meant a new strategic direction. Each new direction meant organizational upheaval. Between 2009 and 2011, MySpace cut more than 1,000 employees, roughly half the company, in multiple rounds of layoffs. Each restructuring destroyed institutional knowledge and product momentum. The platform that needed innovation was receiving deconstruction. The users who remained on MySpace were watching a platform in visible decay. Features that had been promised for years never shipped. Bugs that had existed since 2006 were never fixed. The music discovery tools that had reportedly made MySpace the birthplace of careers for artists like Arctic Monkeys and Lily Allen were buried under advertising and neglect. Each time a user logged in and found the experience slightly worse than last time, they made the same quiet calculation millions of others were making. Their friends were on Facebook now. Why stay? The network effect that had built MySpace was now methodically dismantling it, one departure at a time. The financial numbers arrived with the certainty of a verdict already written. In the year before the eventual sale, MySpace lost an estimated $250 million. The Google advertising partnership, the $900 million deal that had made the acquisition look brilliant, was now a liability. MySpace's traffic had fallen so dramatically that it could no longer generate the page views the deal had been built on. The platform was now losing money at a rate that made even News Corp's tolerance for failure unsustainable. Rupert Murdoch, who had called the acquisition a generational opportunity, was now looking for the exit. In January 2011, News Corp announced publicly that it was seeking a buyer for MySpace. The announcement was remarkable for what it revealed about the platform's trajectory. Monthly unique visitors had fallen from a peak of more than 75 million to approximately 34 million. The platform was losing 10 million users per month. The asking price was, by industry estimates, somewhere between $50 and $100 million. A small fraction of what had been paid. The property section listings of tech news sites treated it with the careful language of obituary writers. A once dominant platform was now described as a struggling social network. On June 29, 2011, News Corp sold MySpace to Specific Media Group and entertainer Justin Timberlake for $35 million. The company purchased 6 years earlier for $580 million, sold for $35 million. A loss of $545 million. A 94% destruction of value. In the same month that MySpace changed hands for $35 million, Facebook was valued at approximately $80 billion in private market transactions. The gap between what MySpace could have been and what it became was not a matter of fate. It was a ledger of decisions. Business school professors teach the MySpace case under topics like platform competition and network effects. But the platform competition framing misses the real story. In 2005, when News Corp acquired MySpace, Facebook had, by some estimates, around 11 million users to MySpace's 32 million. MySpace had 3 times the users, more name recognition, a $900 million advertising partner, and the resources of a global media empire. The outcome was not determined by Facebook's superiority. It was determined by what News Corp chose to do with a dominant platform after acquiring it. They chose extraction over investment. They chose short-term revenue over product quality. They treated a living community like a television broadcasting license, and discovered too late that communities are not licenses. $545 million. That is the price tag on what News Corp did to MySpace in 6 years. They didn't lose a fair fight. They bought the most visited website in America and then staffed it with people who had never built a technology product, overloaded it with advertising to meet a revenue deal they were proud of, ignored the technology debt until it was too late to pay, and changed the leadership so many times that no one could finish anything. MySpace wasn't disrupted. It was abandoned by the corporation that owned it. If that story leaves you thinking about who else is holding valuable things without understanding them, subscribe to Rise and Ruin. This one is far from the last.